I'm being called on in my life to love people and to protect people and to be a river to my people.
He was doing some weird movie thing. It was like he was getting away with it as if he was living in a fictional movie. Like the idea that you think it's smart while wearing a tuxedo to walk onto a stage in front of the world, like literally the world, one of the biggest award shows on earth, if not the biggest, and smack a comedian for the most mild joke, and then sit there quivering saying, with keep anger, my wife's name out of your fucking mouth. And everybody's just going to sit there in the shit that you just took on the table.
The Hollywood hullabaloo about Will Smith, Chris Rock, and Jada Pinkett has stirred a debate about society, integrity, and standards. Shockingly, entertainers from all walks of life have suddenly discovered that they just might have a little bit of a moral compass, and they're standing up. Well, bounding into comics covers Zoe Kravitz speaking her mind, and she's under fire from a gang of online duplicitous digital do-gooders who are virtue signaling to a mob of misfits. They are calling for her head. Now, let's get into it.
Uh-oh, Richard!
Welcome, Slayer Nation. Wow, what a week we've had. I hope all of you are all geared up and in great spirits. You know, I keep being asked in Twitter and in my DMs and emails what my take is on this whole Oscar mayhem mashup. So before we get into the Kravitz story, I'm going to give a quick summation of what I think. I do not believe that Chris Rock was the actually intended target. Yes, he got hit. Will Smith stink-eyed sucker slapped him. But Will Smith used a live televised event in order to triangulate and vent his emotions toward the ire of his eye. You know who that was. He delivered a 7-pound emotional sucker punch to Jada's gut. Now that tells you all you need to know about their relationship. She spent years humiliating him, shaming him where he is known in every American household as a cuckold.
So what happened, Jada?
I got into a different kind of entanglement.
I think you need to say clearly what happened.
And I got into an entanglement with August. That's what I said.
An entanglement?
Yes. I just wanted to feel good. Mm-hmm. But I actually don't look at it as a transgression at all. We ride together, we die together.
That's terrible.
He's a big boy, and he's decided that, you know, he wants to be part of this polyamorous, poisonous relationship. So he either has to man up and say, okay, embrace what I chose, or he has to grow a spine of steel and split. Because these two together, there's no good outcome for them. Someone's going to end up in the hospital or even worse. Because in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. But in the land of the cuckold, every man is an enemy. For behind every single shallow smile and behind every set of eyes, there's the truth staring right at them. And right now, over the last 72 hours, celebrities are actually showing us a little bit more of who they are. Some of them are quiet as church mice, and others are standing up. Some people are following in line with the likes of Jim Carrey.
I was sickened. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless. It really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore.
And others are following along in the principles and philosophies of Joe Rogan.
What that was, he was emotionally fragile, and he acted on impulse in a staggeringly stupid way.
I'll tell you something.
Chris Rock said one of the most mild jokes ever.
To assault one of the all-time greats. And then the cowards, the spineless cowards that are in Hollywood, in comedy. We have a list going of these fucking guys. Anybody who did not stand up and say some shit for Chris Rock, we're going to ruin your fucking life. I just want you to know that.
How come? Do you feel like that was an attack on all of comedy there?
It's what it is it's a display of entitlement. It's a very powerful, very wealthy, influential star who just decided, yeah, I didn't like that. I'm going to smack you.
But Zoe Kravitz, this was the prom queen of America. The lady, the new femme fatale who just a few weeks ago during the Batman premiere was heralded as the new queen of our times. The progressives' icon, the ideal femme fatale. Well, Bounding in the Comics has an article which is nothing but laying out all the attacks she's getting from Black Twitter. Believe me, I never heard of that before, Black Twitter. Anyone who is standing up and letting everyone know what Will Smith did was absolutely wrong is being lambasted by them. So here it is. Here's the title of Bounding in the Comics article. Progressives attack Zoe Kravitz for standing up for Chris Rock after Will Smith slapped him at the Oscars. Straightforward, simple. Here is the first Instagram post from Zoe Kravitz. Remember, a few weeks ago, she was revered. She was one of the radical progressives, an ardent supporter of the Biden administration, Planned Parenthood, abortion, and a big BLM poster girl. And here's her understated, almost elegant Instagram post where she just stated some facts. It reads, "Here's a picture of my dress at the award show where we are apparently assaulting people on stage now." Did you see what I'm saying? It has this elegant quality, this simplicity. It's graceful, poignant, and boom, right to the point. Here's her second post. "And here is a picture of my dress at the party after the award show, where we are apparently screaming profanities and assaulting people on stage now." What kind of society have we turned into? We've been led by these Hollywood celebrities who actually think they are leaders. The new aristocracy of America trying to tell us what is good and what is bad, even though these are all people who follow a sort of moral relativism, where there's nothing but shades of gray and everything goes.
Like he has a rule. The bass player, he got a rule. He got to wax his head every morning. That's a rule. He follows the rules, man. He follows the rules. Oh, these are jokes. Come on. See, you got too into the characters and got hurt.
You know what was the worst thing about Will Smith did? It wasn't the fact that he laughed at the joke from a comedian who said really nothing funny. When you think about it, it wasn't even an insult. It was a compliment. He was calling Smith's wife. He was comparing her to the Pacific Coast princess in her prime, Demi Moore in 1997 as G.I. Jane. That's a compliment. Nothing else. And then he laughed. Then he looked at his wife. She gave him the stink eye. And then he got up and he slapped Chris Rock. And then he went off stage, had a temper tantrum, and started cursing. Then he accepted his Oscar. He accepted his Oscar. He gave an acceptance speech where he draped himself in the cloak of the devout, saying he was a vessel of love, working for the Almighty. And half of that stadium stood up and applauded. It was like watching the Roman breads and circuses. They're like, hey, do we have anything else? Any more blood sports? And so Zoe Kravitz called that out. And for doing that, for crossing the line, this progressive princess has now had her world turned upside down. The worm has turned for her and she's being attacked. Like you'll see here in this new tweet by Korn, who states, "You telling me Zoe Kravitz was trying to flirt with a 14-year-old Jaden Smith, yet tried to diss Will Smith on Instagram?" Now, what they're talking about is that a few years ago, Zoe Kravitz was working with Will Smith's son, Jaden, on a film called After Earth. He was 14 at the time, and I think she was like 24 or 25, and she made some statements about him. All she told him was basically like, look, you're young, you're cool, you're cooler than I am. Here's what Bounding in the Comics said. She said to V Magazine, "There were moments that I was hanging out with Jaden and thinking, I can't believe you're 14. I have to check myself, like, what I say to you. He has so much personality and so much swag. He is so much cooler than I am. And he's so handsome. I was always like, when you're older, we'll hang out. Nope, that's inappropriate. You're 14. Come on. What 14 or 15-year-old boy hasn't had a friend of their family, someone's sister's going to college, and they talk to older women? I used to have crushes on older girls all the time. And they would talk to you when they would see that you weren't just some punk teen. They say, oh, you're pretty cool. I can't wait till you're older to date you. Especially in this age where Disney, who was once had our children in their hearts, in their minds, in order to protect them, to safeguard them, to make sure that they were happy and experienced joy, are now pushing to groom those same kids and take out of the hands of parents their choice when and when not to teach them about sex education. In this time we're living in, someone's going to call Zoe Kravitz a predator because she said a 14-year-old boy, when she was working with him at the time, to look her up when he was older. Give me a break. But this shows you the quality and the caliber of the person who is attacking her. Here's one more for you from someone who calls himself Biracials Out. Zoe Kravitz, also a predator, by the way. Also a predator, by the way. How quickly everything changes for radicals. But it doesn't stop there. We have another one. This is from Z. Will Smith, one of the pioneers for major black roles in Hollywood, and y'all think we're going to allow random nepotism babies to drag him as if they've ever had to work for anything a day in their lives. Zoe Kravitz, your time has come. Her time has come. Why? Because she disagreed. The other thing that Will Smith did, which was so horrible, is after his acceptance speech, he went and cried. The Oscars, as we learned earlier, had told him to leave, but he refused to. And then he decided to party all night long, get jiggy with it. He didn't show any shame. He didn't show any remorse. He apologized to everyone that night except for Chris Rock. Did he apologize to the nation for showing all his fans, all his young fans, all the boys and girls who've idolized him since I Am Legend to Hitch and Pursuit of Happiness? Did he talk to any of them and he tell them, hey, you do not solve an argument with words with violence? But see, that's the message of the radical social justice spoil sports. What have they been saying for the last 8 years? They're saying, if you disagree with us, that's violence. Silence is violence, and language is violence. Well, basically, anything they don't like is violence. So what Will Smith did is he crossed worlds. He took the Twitter world of flame wars and false attacks and lambasting people, and he brought it into the bricks and mortar reality. Instead of talking back to Chris Rock word for word, dealing with him later, instead of holding his wife's hand if she was really hurt by everything and being a man of honor, he went and hit him. And he was applauded for that. And now on top of it, he shows his true character. Have you heard him defending Zoe Kravitz? He should have stood up and said, wait a minute. This woman has done nothing wrong. She's simply stating what she believes is right. I'm the one who did absolutely wrong. See, Will loaded the bullets in other people's guns that they're firing, and he's allowing it to happen. Unacceptable. We have one more tweet. Let's hear what they have to say. From Dee Dee, nothing will ever beat how quickly the internet will switch up on someone. Yesterday, Zoe Kravitz was the sexiest woman ever, and today she has to beat predator allegations. She has to beat nothing. Actually, Zoe Kravitz has just a little bit more of my respect. I don't agree with her politics, but it's just the same way I didn't agree with J.K. Rowling's. But J.K. Rowling has stood her ground this year. She's fighting for women's rights. It's the same way Hollywood Hive's Evangeline Lilly stood for medical freedom. I respect that. It's the same way Gina Carano stands her ground day by day by living her best life, being herself. I doubt Disney could give her any amount of money, power, prestige that could bait her to selling herself out. So when Zoe Kravitz opens her eyes and now realizes that all the people she worshiped are now her enemies, you know what? That's only good news. Because at the end of the day, when radicals are done consuming their enemies, they feast on their friends. And those who become their foes, they become our strongest fighters. And that means it's another victory. We're closer and closer to winning. And I keep having people ask me, what do you constantly mean, George, by winning? It's simple. Regardless of what story I'm covering, whatever I'm researching or digging into, There's not going to be one trick pony to win, to stop censorship, to stop blacklisting, to stop people from getting hurt. But every time we share a solution, every time you hear one, you are the key to victory, because that's one more person who has accepted that there is a problem. And that means you will share it with someone else. And then they will realize that, wake up, and then they will know it's a problem, and they become the solution. And they pass it on to someone else, and they become the solution. And together, we move forward, and we win. And remember, never bow down, never bend the knee. Firmly defiant. Step up, stand tall, and get busy living your best life now. Always forward.